Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, here we go again. Today, The Guardian has published what it claims the documents, the product of a top-secret Kremlin leak. And the thrust of the document is that back in January 2016, which is 5.5 years ago, there was a plot hatched within the Kremlin by no less than President Putin himself to install Donald Trump into the White House. Now you say, that doesn't sound very original. Haven't we been through this for over the past 5 years? Yes, we have. And therefore, the very fact that they're running the story now is what's rather interesting about it. The story is essentially a rehash of the Christopher Steele dossier. All of the elements are there, which is Putin instructs his intelligence agencies to do whatever they can to install Trump into the White House. But what's interesting about this, and why you can tell it's so fraudulent, is first of all, they have claims there that the Russians dismissed Donald Trump as mentally unstable, infantile, insecure. Now, everything that we have known about the Russians, about Putin and Lavrov, and they've addressed the issue of Trump many, many times over the years. They've always spoken about him extremely respectfully. They've always said he's an extremely talented man, he's highly intelligent, to the extent that he failed to achieve what he set out to achieve, that they've ascribed that to internal forces. Never once have they tried to demean him or to refer to him in these derogatory terms. Who does talk about him in those derogatory terms? Well, of course, much of the American media, and what's important is the British policy-making elite. If you remember that guy, Kim Darroch, the former UK ambassador to Washington. That's exactly how he talked about Trump, and he lost his job because the bloody fool's cables were published in the Daily Mail. That's, would talk about it. The Russians never would talk about Trump in those terms. The other thing is that, and here the Guardian article makes clear, there's no reference to Hillary Clinton. Now, this is very strange. For a document that was in 2016, you would have thought the Russians would be extremely concerned about Hillary Clinton. And presumably that's why they would want to install Trump into the White House to thwart Hillary Clinton. But there's no mention of Hillary Clinton here. And on top of that, they don't actually say, well, we want to have Trump in there because we want certain foreign policy goals that we like. If you remember, if you're a RussiaGate aficionado, you'll remember that one of the arguments why Trump was working for Putin was he was shifting US policy in a pro-Russian direction, such as, and this was, you remember the prime example, was that he personally intervened to ensure that the RNC, the Republican National Committee platform on Ukraine, was softened. It, of course, never happened. This is another one of those RussiaGate lies. But nonetheless, that was one of the charges against Trump. Oh, he intervened to soften the line on Ukraine. That's disappeared. Apparently, the only thing the Russians had in mind in 2016 was to sow as much chaos as possible, which again sounds like the kind of post-2016 rationalizations. So what's really behind this? Well, I certainly believe that the authors of these documents is British intelligence, probably some input from US intelligence, and they're trying to get the RussiaGate 2.0 story in as early as possible in anticipation of Trump's 2024 run. What do you think, Peter?
It's so exhausting, isn't it, George?
It is exhausting.
Well, number one, with the RNC's platform, whatever changes were made vis-a-vis Ukraine, it was to continue the Obama policy. Okay, right. Number one. This report reminds me of the Steele dossier in a new suit. Okay, that's all it is here. I find it very, very doubtful anything like this could be ever leaked. Okay. Okay, you really would have to convince me otherwise, all right? The fact that Luke Harding got it at The Guardian should tell you everything you need to know, all right? Yeah, this is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, why not keep going with it, okay? And also what it is that this is very, a part and parcel of the continued information war against Donald Trump. If you love him or hate him, okay? But again, this is to keep stirring it up, stirring it up. The Mueller report means nothing, okay? It's as if it didn't even happen, okay? You have to keep it going. And so they're trying to find a new season for RussiaGate, okay? Because the first one was a real flop. Okay, so they need to mix it up here. I mean, I find it truly disgusting that they want to try to re-inflate this thing here. There's nothing, and you know what? I mean, if the Russians wanted Trump to be president, which I seriously, seriously doubt, my position has always been, and no one's been able to convince me otherwise, all they expect is the worst case scenario. That's what they always expect, and they get it too, okay? Trump's presidency vis-a-vis Russia, the Russians got nothing from Trump. Nothing.
No, they got nothing. I do think, though, that in 2016, they did look upon Trump with some excitement and anticipation, because they did think that he, coming outside of the Washington Beltway, didn't share any of the Cold War mindset of the Washington Beltway. He had abandoned all those Reaganite cliches. And that's why they thought that there might be a change under Trump. I think they were very quickly disabused of that, but I think that they were quite optimistic in 2016 that things might change under Trump.
Specifically, when Trump came out with that article, which seems to have been written by a number of people that was very contradictory. I think it came out in the National Interest. I may be wrong on that, but I think that's where it came out. And it was something I did a program on Crosstalk specifically about, because challenging the orthodoxies of the Cold War and post-Cold War period, meaning questioning the efficacy of NATO. And of course, that is always top of mind with the Kremlin. So, I mean, any major politician, potential politician that would be in the White House would say, we're going to keep a close eye on this guy, because that's something that would be mutually beneficial if you think about it. But other than that, it's just so exhausting and tedious. And personally, I think that Luke Harding is just a grifter. I mean, this is how he makes money. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's how
yeah, but I think it's also tied to British intelligence. I mean, I think he is a conduit for British intelligence. And that's why the fact that, this is a 3-byline story. Harding is one of the authors of it. Without question, I think they were funneling information to Harding that they wanted funneled, which is they're restoring the Steele dossier.
Reimagining RussiaGate.
And that's why back comes the compromat. They say, oh, there's a compromat. Now, people who have forgotten, a compromat is supposedly that the Russians had some damaging information on Trump that they would presumably use against him. Now, and even in this article, they say, oh, there's some reference to some events that had taken place during Trump's visit to Moscow. The Guardian carefully doesn't go into details, because then people would remember, oh, yeah, the Steele dossier. Wasn't that the story about the Russian prostitutes peeing on him in a Moscow room? That was such a ludicrous story. The idea of a germaphobe like Trump, and somebody who all his life, he has been in hotels. So he knows all about hotels. He knows all about closed circuit cameras, hidden cameras. The idea that he would do anything so crazy in a Moscow hotel was so ludicrous, which is why, of course, Guardian carefully avoids it. They sort of suggest, oh yeah, hey, Steele dossier, this is confirmation of the Steele dossier, but without getting into the details, because then, of course, the Guardian would be laughed out of court.
Well, they're assuming that the Steele dossier has any veracity to it at all. I mean, it has been completely shredded. Like I was asked, is there anything in it that is true? And I said, well, there's a country called Russia, and there's a leader named Vladimir Putin. That's about it.
About it, yeah, that's right. And July comes after June. Most years of the year.
Yeah, I mean, of all people that wish it were true would be Carter Page, because he would be a billionaire now, owning a huge stock share of Rosneft, Russia's biggest oil company. Right. Carter Page, he should sue Christopher Steele, because where's his money?
Right, that's right.
We go on and on and on. The lawyer Cohen pinging him in. Remember that, pinging him in Prague.
Yeah, when he was supposed to be in Prague. He never visited Prague. That was the stuff about the pinging in the Trump Tower. Yeah, that's right. But while we, of course, laugh about the Steele dossier and say, oh, well, of course, it's all nonsensical, it's very important to remember that the Steele dossier was taken very seriously, and taken very seriously at the time when the FBI knew that this was all absolute rubbish. I mean, they knew very early on that the Steele did not have any of those connections that he claimed to have. They knew perfectly well already in January 2017 from Danchenko, who was Steele's main point man for information, that Danchenko had just simply made up everything out of whole cloth. So everything had been known, and yet the deep state or the US intelligence services continued running with the Steele dossier. So that way it is a kind of a rather sinister, and it's rather sinister that it seems to be making a comeback.
Yeah. And really, isn't it kind of interesting that after all this time, all the investigations, the tens of millions of dollars they've spent trying to discredit and smear Trump, again, if you love him or hate him, okay, this is the only thing they got. Right. They got the Steele dossier in a new suit, 2.0. Right. That's all you got?
That's it. Yeah, and of course, it's interesting in this Guardian article, one of the, somebody who has a walk-on part is Sir Andrew Wood. Sir Andrew Wood, a former UK ambassador to Russia, was a key player in the Steele dossier, one of the key figures who was trying to get the Steele dossier into the hands of US intelligence. So there he is, pops up again. Let's remember, nobody ever retires from MI6. Christopher Steele was always effectively working for MI6, even though he was supposedly in the world of business intelligence. MI6 knew exactly what he was doing when he was compiling that dossier, and they wanted it. This is what they wanted done. They wanted to destroy Trump because they thought he was a threat to the special relationship to NATO, or the transatlantic alliance and all the rest of it. So you can see they're back. The old team is back.
The band is back together.
The whole gang is back again, determined to prevent Trump returning.
Well, George, I guess in a weird way, this is a blessing for us because we get another bite at the apple too.
It's true. It is true. It means that, we've always got something to talk about.
It is the gift that keeps on giving in a different way, at least as it applies to
What
us.
should we talk about today? Well, let's talk about the Steele dossier. Well, why not?
All right, everyone. We're going to keep obviously an eye on this story here. As you all probably know, we're on Locals right now, so go to thegaggle.locals.com. George and I are doing a series of Zoom interviews, chats with our gagglers. It's a whole lot of fun. Right before we convened to do this podcast, we had the entire Gaggle team was together. The store will be launched very, very soon. We approved all of the merchandise and the designs. It's good. It's cool stuff. Okay. We hope that'll be of interest to you. And of course, we have the tip jar. Any way you can help us, and we're not shameless here, but we have to push this somehow, and it doesn't pay for itself.
That's right, and that's very important that we don't have George Soros and Rupert Murdoch or Bill Gates.
That's why you get good material.
Yeah, or Peter Thiel or anybody really behind this. We are entirely subsidized by our supporters, and we're very grateful to them. I mean, that's very, very of their generosity. But that's how we can keep going through our friends and supporters. So please keep that in mind. And the more you can help us, the better the product will be.
Say hi to everybody.
Well, there he is. Always sleepy. I don't think he's pulling his weight.
He's wakeful.
All right. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.